Hello, wonderful learners, and welcome back to English with Jennifer. Today is June 16th, 2025. In this lesson, we'll use a real news story to boost your English skills. We'll focus on a global issue: falling birth rates. First, we'll learn key vocabulary, then read a simplified news article, and finally practice speaking and writing. Using news helps you learn real, practical English and stay informed. Don't worry if it feels challenging. I'll guide you step by step. By the end, you'll feel more confident discussing current events in English. Ready? Grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Before we read the article, let's learn 5 important words. First, birth rate, the number of live births per 1,000 people in a year. Example, the country's birth rate has been declining for 10 years. Second, fertility rate, the average number of children a woman is expected to have. Example, many countries now have a fertility rate below the replacement level of 2.1. Third, decline, means to decrease or become less. Example, there's been a sharp decline in university enrollments. Fourth, implication, a possible future effect or result. Example, one implication of an aging population is more demand for healthcare. Fifth, workforce, the group of people available to work. Example, with fewer young people, there are concerns about a future workforce shortage. Now that you know these words, you're ready for the news article. Let's see how they're used in context. Now, let's listen to a simplified news report about falling birth rates.
Good evening. A new report shows birth rates are falling in nearly every country. For decades, the world population grew, but now that's changing. The global fertility rate has dropped by more than half in 70 years, from about 5 children per woman in 1950 to just over 2 today. More than half of all countries now have a fertility rate below the replacement level. Countries like South Korea, Japan, and Italy are already seeing population decline. Reasons include more women in higher education and the workforce, better family planning, and the high cost of raising children. The implications are huge. Economies may struggle as fewer young people support more retirees, putting pressure on healthcare and pensions. Governments are offering incentives for families or changing immigration policies to address workforce shortages.
That's the main idea. Falling birth rates are changing societies worldwide. Did you catch our keywords? Birth rate, fertility rate, decline, implication, and workforce. Think about the main message and reasons for this trend. Next, we'll check your understanding with a few questions. Let's check your understanding with 3 questions. First, what is the main global trend in the report? Answer, birth rates are falling in nearly every country. Second, what are 2 reasons for the decline in fertility rates? Answer, more women in education and careers, better family planning, and high costs of raising children. Third, what is one major implication of a smaller workforce? Answer, fewer workers must support more retirees, increasing pressure on healthcare and pensions. Great job! Checking your answers helps you remember key details. Now let's practice sharing your opinion on this topic. Get ready to speak. Let's move on. Now let's practice speaking. Why do you think people are choosing to have smaller families? Use this pattern. One reason is, for example, one reason is the high cost of living. In my opinion, one reason is that women want to focus on their careers. Now try to answer, why are families getting smaller in many countries? Take a moment to think, then say your answer out loud. You can also say, one reason is that education is expensive for children. In my opinion, one reason is that young people value personal freedom. Practice saying your answer a few times. Speaking helps you build confidence and fluency. Well done! Now let's try writing about this topic. Get your notebook ready. Time to practice writing. Here's your prompt. Do you think having a smaller population is good or bad for a country? From my perspective, a smaller population could be, for example, from my perspective, a smaller population could be a bad thing. The main implication is a shrinking workforce, which may hurt the economy, or, from my perspective, a smaller population could be good because it reduces pressure on resources. Write 2 or 3 more sentences to explain your reasoning. Try to use at least one vocabulary word implication. Take your time and organize your thoughts. Writing helps you practice grammar and structure. Great job expressing your viewpoint. Let's review what we learned today. Let's review. Today, you learned how to use news stories to improve your English. We focused on the topic of falling birth rates and learned 5 key words. Birth rate, fertility rate, decline, implication, and workforce. You listened to a news report, answered comprehension questions, and practiced sharing your opinion. You also wrote a short paragraph using new vocabulary. Practicing all 4 skills, listening, speaking, and writing, helps you become fluent. Remember to use these words in your conversations and writing this week. Every lesson brings you closer to your English goals. Keep practicing and stay curious. You did an amazing job today. Let's finish with one last activity. Now it's your turn. What's the situation with birth rates in your country? Are families getting larger or smaller? Why do you think that is? Share your thoughts in the comments using today's vocabulary. For example, in my country, the birth rate is also in decline. I think one reason is the high cost of living. Your perspective is valuable and helps our learning community. Thank you for joining me today. Keep practicing, and I look forward to reading your comments. Until next time, happy learning.